Those from Mrs. Prindable's coming up later in the show. And also, Authentic Gourmet is on the way with their original croissants. That would be a lovely presentation to do the croissant instead of a dinner roll, perhaps on the side of the filet mignon that we have right now. And of course, we have Ray Rastelli joining us, and he is the actual gentleman who 40 years ago decided he was going to become a butcher. And when you did, you had one main objective, which is to make your customers happy and have them trust you like you were providing things to your own mom. I mean, it's all about trust.
It is, and it's so great to see
Hi.
you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
And you are so right. It is really all about trust. You know, our guests come to our butcher shop every week, and week in and week out, we have to make sure that they bring a piece of meat home that's going to make their significant other and their kids happy with that. So,
well, you've spoiled. I have to say, your products have spoiled my children. You know, my daughter knows a little bit more about Black Angus than she probably needs to know as a 9-year-old. But I have to tell you this: what you're getting. 5 ounces in size. So it's more than that traditional 4 ounce, like that princess cut that you might get if you go to your local steakhouse. 5 ounces in size. This is Black Angus Filet Mignon, and you get the total of 8 of them. It's M52894. This does happen to be on 4 easy payments that expire at the end of the day. And right now, we don't have this scheduled. We don't have Ray scheduled, I believe, at all, even for anything else the rest of the weekend. This may be the last time we end up seeing him on air for the holidays. So let's talk, as we're looking at the Black Angus right here. First, you are a butcher, first and foremost. I'd love to look at the board to explain what this is, and then we'll bring it back to the store.
That's terrific, and that's really where it all starts. You know, we talk about Black Angus because it's such a critical component to making a great steak. This is what you get in a steakhouse. So if you take a look at the steak, what I really want you to notice is the marbleization inside of each of these steaks. That's what makes this steak a tender steak. It makes it juicy, it makes it flavorful. And then the aging process that we put it through at our butcher shop, hand cutting and hand selecting. So if you look at the level of trim on that filet, Sharon, and I think that's really something that's important to see.
We'll see that in a second because we're actually seeing the shop, and then we'll get back into the steak.
Right, so you can see at our butcher shop, we are dry aging and wet aging product. We're making sure that there's always a Rastelli member on hand to be able to cut that. And just like we've been doing for the past 40 years, every piece gets hand cut, and we look at every piece to make sure that product gets to our guests the way they would expect it to get there.
And that really is the difference in this brand and why it's special. But you were pointing out the marbling. They never got to see that.
Yes. So the beautiful marbling inside this steak is really what makes this a special steak. The trim level as well. So this is typically what you will get at a 5-star steakhouse. And I want to show the comparison between what you typically would get at a supermarket. So this particular steak is 5 ounces. It's what you would get at a supermarket. You can see the amount of fat that's on the outside.
There's
and the
a lot
reason,
extra.
yes, and the reason being because they're selling the product by the pound. I want to show you our steak. This is 5 ounces. So look at the comparison between the two steaks.
Super trimmed, but all the important marbling is left.
Yes, and look at the thickness in the steak. A tremendous amount of difference in the thickness in that steak.
This is a restaurant cut. This is a center restaurant cut as opposed to what you find at your grocery store.
Exactly, and actually I've illustrated it here by looking at this entire whole tenderloin. So this is what a tenderloin looks like whole as we get it trimmed up at our butcher shop. But you can see only out of the center are we cutting these steaks. So just 3 steaks come out of each tenderloin to create that restaurant quality steak.
So if you want to bring this home, think about what you would pay if you got not just a center cut 5 ounces at maybe your favorite steakhouse that you have close to where you live, but is it Black Angus? Has it been aged? There's a lot. That's a huge part of the process. You might assume that everyone's doing these things. The grocery store, it's not really happening. And so I want to taste test.
Yes,
this
and I'm cutting
Black
that,
Angus
and I'm
steak.
cutting that with a fork for you, not with the knife.
Yeah, really, you were. You were holding it with the knife and cutting it with the fork.
That is how tender that is. Yes.
Which is amazing. When we cook these, first of all, how do we prepare them?
Okay, so very, very simple. Each piece comes to you individually vacuum packed, so they're going to stay good in your freezer for up to 12 months.
Okay.
So pull them out. Let it thaw, and if you get in a pinch, kind of stick it under cold water for about 5 minutes, and it'll actually get very soft for you to be able to cook it. But it's simple. This is the king of steaks. This steak you cannot go wrong with. It is as tender as could be. So you may want to do it on top of the stove in a skillet. You could actually put it in a broiler on a grill. But I always use a little rule of thumb from a temp standpoint, and I always use the little finger trick.
I love this, and I've started using it, and I think so. Pay attention to this. This is a super cool thing.
It's so easy. You'll always see a chef kind of poking the meat to see if, in fact, he's got the right temperature.
Because you cannot put something in the steak or all the juices run out.
Exactly.
So how can you tell if you don't put a thermometer in
So what I like to do is I usually like to take my hand, and this particular muscle right here in your thumb. If you were to take this and put your pointer finger to that, you'll feel that muscle. It's a little soft. That's rare. Go to the middle finger. That's about medium. Your fourth finger, about medium well. And if you get all the way to the pinky, that's a medium. That's a well done product.
So I just need to let you know, too, that with these, you can do so many different things with them. I mean, I love the idea of slicing them in half and doing this beautiful presentation. But whether you decide to serve this for Christmas Eve, I mean, filet mignon any day of the week is a more elegant piece of steak. So this could be for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's. I love a little lobster. Maybe look up some greenhead lobster, share the plate with this would be spectacular. However, any day, sometimes we want to celebrate on any given day. It's an anniversary, it's a birthday, you had a really long week at work and you just want to do something nice for yourself.
Spoil yourself? Yes.
Spoil yourself.
Yes.
Send this as a gift with the bill to ship to option. Black Angus filet mignons to a family member that loves steak.
It is, you know, it's the #1 gift that we send out every year out of the butcher shop. We send thousands of these gifts all over the country because they recognize that when that product gets to their home, not only are they going to be really excited about it, but they're going to remember who it came from.
Always.
It's just an incredible gift to give.
Always. So think about it for just a second. Let's take a look at how many we're getting again. We're getting a total of 8, and they're not small. They are a full 5-ounce thick center cut. That is also huge to what this is here because, like you said, a lot of what's out in the stores is sold by weight, and so they're giving you a bunch of extra on the sides that you have to cut off. So here, all of the excess has been trimmed. If you and 7 of your friends were to go to that steakhouse that has things like aged steaks, Black Angus steaks, how much would you and 7 of your friends have to spend for this main event where they put some steamed broccoli or asparagus on the side? Your bill when you leave that restaurant would not be $109. So keep that in mind as to why Rastelli's is so special and why they've been doing what they're doing for 40 years. They even supply steaks to a 7-star restaurant that is in Dubai. And you have a chance to bring these home and either experience them for yourself or, like I was saying, I think this makes the best gift ever.
It really does. And, you know, as I said, it all starts with that Black Angus steer. And this is a Midwestern steer that's fed corn and is really bred to be able to give you the experience that you deserve. When you go to a steakhouse, you never come away unhappy. And there's a reason. The product has been aged. So we age this for at least 21 days for you. We make sure that it's hand trimmed. So you see it's trimmed completely. So that 5 ounces is typically a steak that you would have to pay. You would have to buy an 8-ounce steak at a supermarket with all that fat on it
to get your 5
the 5 ounces. So that's why when you go to a steakhouse, you always clean the plate.
By the way, was there any seasoning on that piece you just
There
gave
was
me?
not. But
that's amazing because it tastes good with no seasoning on it. But it does include your steakhouse seasoning.
It does. We do have a steakhouse seasoning. It's an old family recipe, signature, and it's got some mixture of garlic and salt and different sea salts and some different types of pepper in there, white pepper and black pepper.
It's like velvet.
And
the steak itself is like velvet.
Yeah, and the seasoning, a little tip for I think that works with seasoning.
Another one, listen closely to this.
When you get your steaks out and you get them to room temperature, season them at that point in time. So season them and let it actually sit for about 15 or 20 minutes. That seasoning will actually begin to go into the steak. And that actually starts to melt into the steak so that when you put it on that grill or you put it in the oven, you're not burning that seasoning. And it really gives you a nice flavor through the entire steak.
Just make sure if you want to lock this into auto delivery, those 4 easy payments expire at the end of the day. This would be the perfect time to get this at home for the holidays with your major credit card. We're not going to see you. This was it for the whole holiday season. Maybe
Have a
January?
wonderful holiday. Yes.
Thank you. You too. Thank you so much. I feel like I'm saying goodbye to old friends because I know I'm not going to see them for quite some time. Coming up in a few minutes, I mentioned the Authentic Gourmet just a few minutes ago as a side dish, as the breading for your sandwich for breakfast.